Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. Hope everybody's having a great weekend out there so far. And in today's weather forecast, we will be breaking down the weather pattern for you over the next 2 to 3 weeks through February, as it does appear to be eventful. We'll get into those details in today's weather forecast. Let's look out the door this morning at our temperatures, and we are off to a mild start again across the south central United States. Temperatures again across the central, southern plains, the lower Mississippi Valley, the southeast, into the 40s and 50s we start this morning, even up to the north, into the northern tier of the United States, the northeast, or even back out west. Temperatures aren't too shabby for an early February morning. Temperatures into the teens and single digits in some areas in the higher elevations of the Rockies. Otherwise, we are seeing those 20s and 30s across the northern tier and the northeast as we go in through the morning hours. And this is actually above normal temperatures for this time of year. Look all the way up into southern Canada here, Manitoba, northwestern Ontario. We are 45 degrees above the norm for this time of year, starting off the morning up there. Even across the Corn Belt here, across the middle of the country, 10 to 20 degrees above the norm for this time of year to start the morning. And then looking at the afternoon, notice if you walk outside, you're probably not seeing a lot of snowpack on the ground, and that is actually helping those temperatures warm more significantly as we go into the afternoon. We're going to see highs into the 40s up here again across the northern U.S. and the northeast, and then further south, 50s, 60s, and even some 70s returning across the Rio Grande Valley near the Gulf Coast and into south central Florida as we go into the afternoon time frame. Now, if you do like detailed weather breakdowns across North America and the tropics, as tropical weather season is upcoming through 2024, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, and I would love to hit 100,000 subscribers by spring, and each and every one of you can help me get there simply by subscribing to the channel if you are not already, and also make sure to like the video down below. It helps out more than you know. So let's look out the door at our current weather conditions here today, and you can see a couple different areas of precip. First, let's talk about California, because we're seeing some crushing snow totals already picking up across the Sierras this morning, and we can see some very heavy rains moving onshore to the west coast as well. We have some snow up here into the Pacific Northwest, into northeastern Washington state, northern Idaho, and into Montana. Even some snow showers down here into western Wyoming as well. And then a band of some moderate rainfall from Kansas through Missouri, down through portions of Mississippi and Arkansas, getting through Alabama there into northwestern Florida here this morning as well. So let's look at our jet stream and show you why we are seeing this very active pattern. And you can see this is like a highway for storms. So this means a lot of our storm systems will be moving through this highway across Southern California, in through the Four Corners region, and then diving through the southern United States. And this is bringing in a lot of moisture from the eastern Pacific Ocean as well. So going through today, looking at these three different areas of precipitation. First off, west into California, we're seeing a lot of very heavy snow in those higher elevations. Snowfall rates could be 1 to 3 inches per hour in these areas. Very heavy rainfall, again, 1 to 3 inch per hour rainfall rates in some of these areas. And then up to the north, across the northern Rockies into the Montana region, Idaho, and northern Wyoming, we could see some scattered snow showers up there with a couple inches of snow. And then we're watching and monitoring a band of rain across the southeast today as well. Some of this could turn severe for Florida, and we'll get into more detail with that in just a moment. But as we go through tonight, this active pattern is really going nowhere. We continue to see an atmospheric river of moisture moving onto the west coast, not only just for California now, but also for Oregon and Washington state as well, especially into southern Washington state through tonight. But let's focus in on the severe weather potential today across Florida and southern Georgia here. We do have a level 1 out of 5 in the dark green and a level 2 out of 5 in the yellow here. This is a marginal to slight risk for severe weather, meaning isolated to scattered severe thunderstorms will be possible, with the highest coverage down here toward Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Key West, Florida as we go through today. And this does include the threat for some isolated tornadoes across the Tallahassee region, Jacksonville, Gainesville, down through Orlando, Tampa Bay there into the Fort Myers, Naples area, Key West, West, Miami, Fort Lauderdale, just a lot of these areas seeing some tornado potential as we go through the Sunday time frame. So let's break this down a little further. This is your surface-based CAPE, or convective available potential energy. And what this means is the higher the number, basically more energy there is for thunderstorms to fuel and start to produce severe weather. And you can see a lot of these values today are around 1,000 to 1,500 joules per kilogram. And you can see the highest of those values across central and south central Florida through to this afternoon and this evening. And this is combined with some wind shear. You can't have thunderstorms without wind shear. And you see a lot of these severe storms tapping into those winds just aloft above our heads. And this could cause some of those thunderstorms to rotate later on today. So let's look at the timing for these storms down across southern Georgia and through Florida. This morning, we have a long line of thunderstorms on the west coast there of Florida into southwestern Georgia. These storms could readily be severe, mainly with damaging winds and some large hail, but a couple spin-up tornadoes will be possible from the Tallahassee region down through Tampa and Naples, and even toward western portions of Key West as we go through the morning. Going into the afternoon here, a more volatile situation. We have that line of storms moving to the east, but a couple of these isolated supercells could start to develop behind this line of storms. These would be the ones this afternoon as it taps into the peak heating of the day to produce more of those spin-up tornadoes across Florida there. And as we go into tonight, we'll see a break before more thunderstorms start forming across southwestern Florida down toward the Fort Myers and Naples area overnight tonight. So watching and waiting for a very active day across those areas. As we go into Monday, we start to see more thunderstorm activity for southern Florida. No severe weather expected on Monday, but look at the big storm out west across the western U.S. here. A lot of heavy snow in the higher elevations, a lot of heavy rainfall. And this heavy rain will be pushing into Southern California, Los Angeles, San Diego, and Fresno, getting some very heavy rainfall there. And that continues right into Monday night as that atmospheric river is having no let up through your Tuesday time frame. So let's look at our total precipitation from now all the way through Tuesday on February 6th. Notice a stripe of 1 to 2 inches of rain generally here from portions of Arkansas down through the Dixie Alley region there into Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, southern South Carolina, and then getting into Florida there with those severe thunderstorms. But let's look at California. Look at all the rainfall on the table here, and you can see widespread amounts of 2 to 4 plus inches. And I'm very concerned about the Los Angeles region and San Diego down here into Southern California, as some of these areas could see isolated double-digit rainfall totals over 10 inches over the next 24 to 48 hours. And that has caused the Weather Prediction Center to actually upgrade this area to a rare high risk going through your Monday morning for excessive rainfall and flash flood potential. And that high risk actually extends Monday into Tuesday. So back-to-back days of moderate to high risk for flash flooding across Southern California there, especially in and around San Diego there and Los Angeles. And just to put this in perspective for you here, this is the number of high-risk days of flash flooding from 2016 to 2022. And in that 6-year period or so into Southern California, we've only had around 8 in the Los Angeles region. And we're going to see 2 of those back-to-back here today and going into your Monday. That just shows you how rare some of these high-risk days are for flash flooding. And going across the west, it's not only going to be about the flooding potential, but the very heavy snows. Look at all the heavy snow here in the Rockies, and the Sierras are absolutely going to get crushed by this atmospheric river. This water will turn into snowfall over the watershed here into the Sierras as we have feet upon feet of snow dropping. Some of these areas could see over 4 feet of snow just going through that Tuesday, even Wednesday time frame. So this will cause some extreme travel impacts for any areas out here into the Sierras or the higher elevations of California. If you are traveling out here, make sure to take it very slow, and I advise you to just wait it out till midweek because of all the heavy snow and flooding ongoing into California. Now, as we go toward the mid and late week period, we're talking Wednesday, Thursday into Friday time frame. Notice the high pressure building across eastern Canada. High pressure tends to be warmer and drier weather. So that means we're going to have a drier pattern up here into eastern Canada and the northeastern United States. But look out west, that trough is going nowhere. So repeated rounds of active weather with cooler weather with a low pressure system and a more active weather as well. And that goes right through the mid and late week period. But ahead of this trough, we're going to see a lot of record high temperatures being broken across the upper Midwest into the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast here. We're going to be seeing temperature values that are 30, 40 degrees perhaps above normal for this time of year, which is almost unheard of. That's why they are records. And you can see out west, we're seeing cooler than normal temperatures being favored across California, but down here into the Pacific Southwest with that active subtropical jet, but also the active low pressure systems coming in off the highway of that jet stream as we go into that mid and late week period. So let's take a look at those temperatures midweek. This is Wednesday, February 7th, and look at these temperatures out here, folks. We're talking 50s for highs across the Great Plains. While not unheard of in the Great Plains probably too much, look at this, closing in on 51 up here into Des Moines, 53 in Omaha on Wednesday. And if that's not enough for you, look at this, folks. 53 in Minneapolis, St. Paul on Thursday, closing in on 60, if not the low 60s into central Iowa there on Thursday, low to mid 50s in the Chicagoland area. So very, very warm temperatures for this time of year. And that just extends another day into Friday as well as this ridge starts to build out east and we have a big trough out west. So that will make those record highs push further to the north across the northern United States. Now let's look at the precipitation anomalies. You can see it's drier out east because we have a ridge. You have a lot of sinking air, a lot of drier air here across southeastern Canada and the eastern 2/3 of the country. The western third of the country will have that trough sitting out there with a lot of low pressure systems, the atmospheric river continuing, more heavy rain, more heavy snow out west here, and a lot of this will be falling in central, southern California, into Nevada here, into Utah, into Arizona there, and some of that will linger over into Colorado and New Mexico. Just a lot of areas out to the west seeing some very heavy precipitation, and looking here at more heavy snow on Wednesday, the 7th of February, across the Rockies. A good majority of the Rockies actually seeing some very heavy snow there. Going into Thursday, much of the same. We start to see some rainfall moving further north, and just look at how far north in general our low pressure system is on Thursday. This is all the way up into the eastern Dakotas and western Minnesota. And when you have a low pressure system that far north, usually you look at the northwestern side for snow. So we see that in southern Canada and the northern plains and northern Rockies. But then on the warm side, the warm sector all the way up here into the Great Lakes and Midwest. So this will be all rain across these areas. And then as we go into Friday, some of the cold air tries to pull down here behind the low pressure system into the upper Midwest, into Minnesota and the Dakotas. This could flip us from rain over to snow, but it's all rain across the eastern 2/3 of the country as we go into Friday, February 9th. And this system won't be a back-breaking system in terms of heavy rain or heavy snow or anything like that for any of us east of the Rockies, but this could be giving us some decent rains, some rains in areas that need it with the drought out there, rainfall amounts in general. If you get under some of those heavier downpours or thunderstorms, we could be seeing potentially a quarter, half inch, maybe 3/4 of an inch of rain out there, and it is beneficial rain. So we'll see a lot of that. Very heavy rains though across the Four Corners region. So we are seeing the Phoenix area getting inundated with a couple inches of rain through that Wednesday through Saturday time frame. And just looking at the snowfall amounts as well, much of this will be focused over the west across the Rockies. Decent snows there for Utah, Arizona, western Colorado, and northwestern New Mexico in this pattern. Even a few inches of snow up here into Montana. Western North Dakota, southern Saskatchewan can be expected as we go through that Wednesday, February 7th through Saturday, February 10th time frame. But now let's look at the long range pattern, because things start to change as we get toward the middle of February. And this is what we call the NAO, the North Atlantic Oscillation. Right now is actually positive. This is trending neutral, if not negative, as we get towards that February 15th and beyond time frame. And also the AO, the Arctic Oscillation, is positive for now, but this is trending quickly negative as we get into that second and third week into February, around that 15th or so time frame. So what this is going to mean is between Saturday, February February 10th, and especially the closer we get to Saturday, February 17th, and into that third week of February, we start to see more of that low pressure underneath. We have blocking all the way up here into Greenland and eastern Canada, and then underneath we have more of those lowering of the pressures, so we see more low pressure systems, colder weather more importantly, underneath this across the eastern United States. And look at the pattern. We start to see all that cold air being unleashed from the west, further east across the Gulf Coast, into the southeast, and eventually up the east coast during this time frame. And while we're seeing the colder weather, we're going to start to see more precipitation. So colder rains across the southeast can be expected, but areas north, if we get cold enough here, we only need around 20s, low, even mid 30s for snow, and we could start to see snow flying in this pattern across especially interior New England and the northern United States into that third week into February. And let's look at a few model runs. Now take this with a grain of salt because this will change 1.5 million times, but just to give you a general idea on the upcoming active weather pattern ahead, here's the GFS model. Here you can see a narrow swath of some heavy snow potential. This model is showing it from the Central Plains through the Midwest and into the upper Great Lakes region. Looking at the GEM model, this is your Canadian guidance, very in line with the GFS from the Central Plains through the Midwest into the upper Great Lakes region as well. And then the European model, the ECMWF, showing it a little bit further to the south, but the same theme is there, from heavier snows and a narrow swath from the Plain States through the Ohio Valley, a little further south on this run, and then across portions of New England here, including that I-95 corridor. Now, why we look at those is we're trying to figure out what the pattern looks like into that third week into February, and we look toward an ensemble when we're beyond around 7 to 10 days out. And this is the European ensemble guidance, usually does very well, and you can see some heavier snows starting to break out across interior New England and southeastern Canada here, and then you start to see more of that getting back through the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and into the Central Plains on this ensemble model. Now, it doesn't show heavy totals because this model is an average of 51 members, so it's averaging those out. So these could be higher, these could be lower, or exactly what it shows on here. So we'll continue to watch this as we do get closer, but just showing you the pattern will become conducive to winter returning for the eastern U.S. by the time we get into the middle and late portion of February. And we will keep you updated right here on this channel right about that. So make sure to subscribe to the channel down below, especially for these long-range forecasts, and to stay updated on the weather forecast with accurate weather forecasts moving forward. Make sure to press the like button down below. It helps out more than you know. Share this video with friends, family, and on social media, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their weekend out there.